got to become the new normal. Not, oh, Phil bought a game and he played it to stream. He didn't like it, or the viewing audience didn't like it, and he dropped it. Oh, what a wage quit situation. No, that's not the point.
Before we even start, yes, I know he was never really away from begging, but since his recent acknowledgement of the Kino buff ending, he has kicked it up to 11, just like his new microphone's gain setting, apparently. I just wanted to say something before the comments were inevitably flooded with a bunch of people saying, actually, Atlas, he's always been begging. But for those who haven't seen what I'm talking about, DSP has been down as of late. Like I said, the Kino buff has ended, and with it came a drought in tips. The only person who seems to be keeping Phil afloat at this point is Iron Dent Sakai, and it's been really getting to Phil that that's the case, resulting in quite a few more pitiful moments than normal. Of course, some of these moments are egregious beg segments or outbursts of frustration, and that's exactly what this first clip is gonna be, a combination of the two.
Today it's Marvel Rivals, which I'm very excited to try. By the way, someone's got to pick the character, guys. Someone's got to pick the first character. So the first person to contribute 20 bucks picks the first character today. All right. So we got to get that by the end of the show.
Now, I don't take any issue with this strategy, personally. I don't think that there's anything wrong with involving your audience in this way. As a matter of fact, I think it's a half-decent way, actually, to incentivize your audience and allow the content to frequently change as more characters are requested. But why is the minimum $20? What absolute maniac could justify spending that amount of money to see the guy play a character poorly in a game that he doesn't seem to enjoy all of that much? Even more importantly, though, how did DSP ever think that 20 was an acceptable asking price? He loves to bring up his business acumen and how he's got a degree in this subject. As a matter of fact, he's gonna do it later in this video. So how does he not understand that the value for that product just isn't there? Maybe if he was good at the game or knowledgeable on the variety of characters, it could be worth the money. But as it stands right now, $20 can get you, what, an hour of bad gameplay and almost non-existent commentary from the guy? Not exactly a deal if you ask me, and it seemed that the Dents were actually in sort of an agreement, as they clutched their Velcro wallets very closely to their chest.
All right, well, guys, we have about another 15 minutes before we start with Marvel Rivals, but we need to pick a character. We need to select the first character. Who is going to step up and select the first character for us? Who's going to do it? I told you, it's 20 bucks, you pick the character, right? We need it. Right now, we have only $10 of support on the show. We obviously got to do better than that. So who's going to do it? Wolverine, Spider-Man, Squirrel Girl. By the way, if you do pick a character, if you contribute and pick the character, it could be one I've already played now. I've played a good amount of characters now. So if there's a character you want to see me take another shot at now on mouse and keyboard, that would be a good opportunity. Maybe there was a character I did good with, you'll think I'll do better. Or maybe there was a character I sucked with, you think I'll do better. Either way is fine.
This is where I start to take issue, though, because he's almost demanding that someone send a minimum of $20 so that he can start the gameplay. Granted, he didn't outright state that that was the case. He didn't come out and say that he was gatekeeping the gameplay, but he's definitely postponed things in the past until the Dents met some sort of arbitrary requirement that he made up. And just the way that he says it, he's not asking that someone send the money. He's asking who will send the money, because someone will. They always do. And it's that kind of expectation of payment that has led to so many of DSP's shortcomings. The way that he just expects his Dents to bite on every gimmick and shtick he puts out has led him to never offer anything of real substance. That's why every reward they get requires zero effort on his behalf, but they keep supporting, they keep encouraging this poor mindset, and then wondering why so many people find the pig roach so revolting.
Let's see here. I received a $1.85 tip from Beaver Bother. Now can you play Black Widow? No. That's another $1.85. So now we're at like 350? Not even. You didn't even hit 350 yet. You're not even at 350, but you think that you're going to select a character. You're just going to circumvent the system. That's not how it works. Beaver Bother, at this rate, you're going to end up paying 20 bucks anyway, so you might as well just drop the rest. Just do it and just pick the character. Just stop being so stingy. All right.
Tree-fitty? I know I talk funny, and DSP has his own litany of linguistic errors, but tree-fitty? Loch Ness Monster money aside, if 350 is the only amount of money you're receiving for this reward, maybe take it so that you can start the gameplay? You know, that thing that he's supposed to be doing over on his channel, DSP Space Gaming? And in my humble opinion, I think that 350 is about what I would expect the contribution minimum should be in order to pick a character. Maybe not for an entire hour's worth of playtime, but a few matches for $3 to $5 sounds far more reasonable than 20. In typical DSP fashion though, he just had to be ungrateful. He literally called Beaver Bother stingy for not ponying up the full $20 outright. Just the audacity of the guy sometimes, the shameless way that he talks to and about his regular audience members is something else. Somehow this method worked though, and someone did eventually fork over the requested payment amount and gameplay did happen, but DSP's greed was not satiated.
So guys, we got a half an hour left on stream, and it's literally been hours since anyone contributed. What's up? Right? What's up? Real talk, what's up? Do you guys not like Marvel Rivals? We've been playing it for weeks, and usually the stream does all right. Today, it makes 30 bucks. So, what's up? You guys not like it? Are we done with it? Are we done with Marvel Rivals? Because it's free to play. There's no commitment for me to keep playing this. I don't have to keep playing it and learning it, you know? I think it's good for variety, but if you guys don't like it, we're done. We'll move on and we'll do something else. Because I had another stream of it scheduled for the week, but I'm not going to waste time. We got indie to play, we got Stalker to play, we got more Call of Duty, we got other indie games to put in there. We've got Flight Sim for chill content. I want to start Dino Crisis, and I want to start Dark Souls games. So, do we drop this and start something different? Is that what you want? Drop it. All right. I hope you guys liked the content I put out of it. I enjoyed it, but if people don't want it, they don't want it. Enough. Really, enough. I'm not going to waste time on it. I'm not going to waste time on shit. When my time is important and everyone wants me to do a million things, I'm not going to waste time on stuff people are not supporting or wanting. So forget this, right? Fine. I know exactly what we're going to do.
I've said before that he should quit games that no one is interested in. I'm not going to change that stance now, but this is not the way to do it. He really does always manage to find the least likable way to approach every situation. Clearly, he got the hint that nobody was interested. He understood that the vibe was off, so to speak. If he was capable of understanding that information, then why did he feel so inclined to confront his audience in this way? And that's what this is. This is a confrontation with his audience, because instead of just using that information to make his decision for the betterment of his business, he had to ask them specifically for confirmation, and I just don't think that he should have. If he would have just stayed silent on the matter and just removed the game from future time slots, he would have came off far better for it. It's almost as if he gets some sort of sick enjoyment from berating his viewers or something. That aside, this was apparently his preferred outcome, because the very next day he continued to try and convince his audience that quitting games abruptly was a far more prosperous future for the DSP Space Gaming channel.
So now we're going to be juggling Indiana Jones and Stalker 2 and the modded Dark Souls, plus Call of Duty, plus every once in a while Flight Sim, plus fighting games. That's a lot. Plus, we're even doing some indie stuff still. You know, tomorrow I want to give Killer Frequency a shot. Out of all the games that I played earlier this month, remember I did the Marathon Indies Day? Well, out of all those games that we tried, there was basically only one that I hadn't really played in a playthrough yet, and that was Killer Frequency. So I want to give Killer Frequency a shot, and I want to see if it's any good as an actual like playthrough, and we'll give it a shot and see. All right. If it's good, then I'll keep it in the rotation. But if we play it tomorrow night and it kind of flops, then we don't have to do it again. You know, we give it a good honest try. And I think, here's the truth, I think what we need to do in 2025 is we need to normalize the practice that I try a game, but it doesn't necessarily have to be committed to be playing long term. And if we all like it, and if it's something that I'm enjoying and you're enjoying, so I like playing it and you like coming to the streams and engaging and supporting those streams, then we keep it in the rotation. But if it's something that I start playing and it doesn't work, right, then we don't have to commit to finishing it. Because I think that's been my fatal flaw over the years is I'll say, hey, I want to play a game. I'm interested in it. Okay, so I buy it and I go to play it, and within 2 sessions, everyone's bored of it. But I'm like, well, I already bought it, so now I'm committed to playing it, and I got to play it for another month. So now every time that I play that game, the attendance is tiny. Everyone's bored and telling me to play something else. No one is engaging with the content or me, and no one's supporting the stream. That's not how to operate, a successful stream or business. It's just not. Okay, I need to find things that you guys like, but that I also am going to like, and that it'll work out. That synergy. You know what I mean? That synergy between those two sides.
I agree with the guy. Playing video games that no one is interested in all day, every day is no way to run a successful business, but he doesn't have to get approval from the Dent Council to quit playing a game. Or at least he shouldn't, because he is his own boss. He's very quick to point that out when the subject arises, so he should be able to make his own schedule and determine what he plays. I know I can sound like a broken record at times with points like this, but it remains true because he never seems to grasp the concept. And I can understand his audience voicing their opinions in the chat and asking for games that they would be much more interested in seeing, but how comfortable they are asking and the way that they expect him to change games on a whim sometimes is a bit much. But that's exactly the kind of behavior that he's encouraged from his audience for so long. It is exactly this type of approval seeking that has led them to be like this. That, or they're just LARPers, which is an entirely different problem. I did really like the synergy hand gesture. I don't think that I've ever seen that done before, so very cool.
It's just a problem that I've had over the years is I was the guy who would run to the store, buy the game, rush home, pop it in, beat it within a week, on to the next game. But what if the game's no good? Doesn't matter because Phil beat it within a week. That's not Phil anymore. I changed a long time ago. Now I juggle a ton of games. I stretch out those playthroughs because I'm juggling it with so much other content. So I don't want to be stuck playing or committing to a playthrough for an extended period of time that no one's enjoying, right? So that is something I think we need to do. Marvel Rivals, I like it. It plays like Overwatch, but don't you remember what happened with Overwatch? I played it for a few months. People got tired, and I wanted to keep playing it, but I eventually dropped it because people stopped caring. Marvel Rivals did exactly the same thing in the summer during the beta, where I was playing it and I liked it, but people were bored of it and I stopped playing it. So it's kind of the same deal here. I could like a game as much as I want, but it doesn't make a good stream, right? I'm trying to make content. And that's the thing I need to understand is that this is not just my hangout session. This is not just my hobby. It's my job, and I need to make content that people want.
Why is this something that he's still learning 16 years in, and why is he addressing it publicly? It might be a foreign concept to him, but people can just improve themselves and what they do without making everybody else aware of it beforehand. And I know that I say this all the time as well, but he is one of the only content creators I know that have issues like this, where he can't entertain an audience because a game is a week old. That should be a very clear indication that people are showing up not for the personality, but the game, and that's obviously not ideal for DSP. People only showing up for certain games is exactly how he found himself in this situation now, but it seems to have always been this way. It's almost as if day one he actually understood that he offered nothing as an individual, so he's been brute forcing his way through his streaming career entirely off of the backs of the games and his most dented viewers.
And that's something that's going to be a change because, people, particularly, as my detractors, tend to say things like, oh, well, you see, it's a wage quit. It's like, what? Okay, so let me ask you a question. When you go to work, all right, and you're working, and you are trying to put out, some kind of productivity that benefits the company or benefits something, right? And then you get paid for it, correct? That's what work is. Work is not you go into a room and you sit there and you just hang out and you casually do whatever you want and then you receive money, you need to be making a product that people want, whether it's the company that you're making the product for or customers that are coming in. You're making a product that people want. It's called Business 101.
Whether he likes the term or not, he did wage quit. Even in the real life style scenario that he laid out, I'd still be willing to call that a wage quit. If you are no longer doing something because the money wasn't enough to justify you doing it, you wage quit. It doesn't get any more simple than that. The term can be used in other places other than when just talking about DSP. The problem is it's not a real term, of course, but also no other streamer, at least that I know of, makes it so obvious that the sole reason for the changes that they make is for the money. That's why when he quits these games, it gets picked up so quickly by the detractors, because he tells his audience that it's the lack of funding that is getting these games taken off of the schedule. And we've seen DSP play games that he clearly didn't enjoy for hours and hours simply because he was being paid the right amount. Obviously, I'm looking at Baldur's Gate 3 as an example. But when anybody calls him out for this behavior or even mentions it in his chat, he has a conniption, only fueling the fire more. He really is his own worst enemy and only digs the holes deeper as he continues to speak.
And some people are just so weird in the head, they actually will say something like this. You ready? Well, I don't understand because, Asmongold can just stream whatever he wants. He can stream anything and people like him enough that he makes, insane amounts of money every stream. Not every streamer is Asmongold. Not every person can turn on a stream and basically have a social club that they could just sit there and hang out with an infinite number of people that roll in because they're already popular and make insane amounts of money off of nothing. Do you get that? Like, people are so ridiculous in their heads, they actually think that I am the same level as like some giant content creator. I'm not. I keep telling people I am very much more the blue collar guy. The only reason that I survived as long as I did is because I worked my ass off, streaming as much as I do, putting out as much content as I do. That's why. I wouldn't have survived. I would have went out of business many years ago. I would have lost my relevance and pertinence if it wasn't for my work ethic.
That's exactly what I was saying earlier. He brute forced his way through his streaming career. I don't know that I would call it work ethic, though. Work ethic to me implies that you care about the quality of the work and whether or not you did a good job. That's obviously not DSP. But nobody thinks that DSP is comparable to Asmongold. They do, however, expect his content to be comparable to streamers with a similar size to his own, but he just isn't. There were streamers with an audience his size or less that don't worry nearly as much about what games they do and don't play the way that he does. You don't have to be Asmongold in order to garner an audience who likes you and enjoys your content regardless of the game. He's just always so quick to look at these massive creators and say that he could never be like them without ever actually acknowledging there are tons of other creators a fraction of their size that are capable of the same feat. It's like his brain is willing to do or say whatever it needs to in order to convince himself that his failures are not of his own doing, but a direct result of expectations being set too high by everybody else.
So in 2025, what we need to do is figure out exactly what it is that people like and don't like and treat it as such. When I start a playthrough, all right, let's try it. Did it work or not? Is it working? Great. Keep it up. Is it not working? Then we move on. We do something different. And that's got to become something normal. That's got to become the new normal. Not, Phil bought a game and he played it a stream. He didn't like it, or the viewing audience didn't like it and he dropped it. Oh, what a wage quit situation. No, that's not the point. Like, I shouldn't have to commit to a playthrough of every single game that I play. I should be able to experiment and try new things. That's what a lot of content creators do. They'll jump into a game, they'll try it out once or twice, they'll see if it's any good, and if it is, they keep playing it, and if not, they drop it. And maybe every once in a while they go back to it, but they're not committing to playing it constantly. That's another thing that content creators frequently.
Please notice the way that he phrased it. He says that they see what works. Not what makes them money, but what works. That's far more vague than what DSP does. That could mean works for the vibe, works for the audience, works for the time slot. There are a plethora of reasons why someone may or may not want to continue making a piece of content, but DSP is the one who makes it so obvious that it's all about the money. That is the difference. It really all boils down to his attitude rather than the actual action of quitting these games.
I've just been this weird, I don't know, different mentality, I guess, because of the way that things used to be on YouTube that aren't anymore. You know, YouTube is not a place where I can run to the store, buy a game on release day, pump out a playthrough in 2-3 days, and get insane amounts of views, and then on to the next. That's not my formula. So why am I treating it as such? And again, listening to moronic detractors saying stuff like, "Oh, he wage quit the game." That's a good thing. That's an actual good thing. Because if people were liking the content, they would be there to watch it, engage it, and support it. People show up and support for what they like. If people aren't showing up and engaging and supporting, it means they don't like it, and I should be doing something else with my time. Right? So why is that a bad thing? What would make you think that that's a bad thing? Honestly, unless you're dumb. That's the thing. For me, anything I do is wrong to my detractors. So it doesn't matter if I'm doing the smart thing or the right thing. It's still wrong in their eyes, you see? But it has to have nothing to do with them. It has to have to do with you and me, us, and what we're doing together. Are we having a good time? Are we enjoying this game? Are we chilling? Are we gelling? Does it make you want to support the content, right?
It's a bad thing because it's a blatant display of his own greed. If quitting games mid-playthrough wasn't so easily exploitable as a way to extract more money from his audience, no one would have cared. Whether or not any of this is a good idea, though, doesn't actually matter at the end of the day, because he is right. Some detractors just don't care. All they care about is pissing him off and getting under his skin, and it seems that they've been successful if this segment is anything to go off of. But he just keeps feeding them time after time, never changing. And that's exactly why he's a lol cow.
So, yeah, that's what we got to figure out. And I think that that's a healthy attitude to have. That's a healthy way to go about my content moving forward. And, you know, the reason that I really wasn't able to do that previously was I didn't have the financial flexibility. I was so financially tight all the time that I couldn't do that. And I would tell you guys that, sorry, I can barely afford the games this week and stuff like that. I'm not in that situation anymore. Okay? At least for the time being, things have been good. The support levels are good. And because of that, I can say, hey, let's try out this new game this week. Oh, it didn't work out. Not a big deal. And that's because of you and the levels of support you're giving me. You've allowed me to have that flexibility. And that's the new normal that we have to get used to. It's not old Phil who's basically scraping by, looking for pennies under the couch to buy the game this week so that now he can play it. And now, he bought it, so he's committed to playing the whole playthrough. It's not like that anymore. And that's a good thing. You have to understand that's a really good thing. Okay? So thank you for that. I really appreciate that. And let's keep that going in 2025. Let's have this new mentality that we can try a game, and if it doesn't work out, we can move on to something new that we want to see or play, as opposed to stuck playing something no one wants. That's a really silly mentality, in my opinion, but it's something that I've done for many years, you know? Okay.
So the reason that he can now quit playing games mid-playthrough instead of doing a full run is because he isn't as financially tight. Let me get this straight. In the past, he had to continue to play these games that he didn't like and weren't making him money because he didn't have the money? How does that make any sense? How is that logical to continue to do something that isn't bringing in money because you're broke? It just seems completely counterintuitive and the kind of thing that would make any company bankrupt inevitably. But I guess that is how it wound up in the end, so the logic is there. And before I close out this video, I did want to bring back, by popular demand, membership comments, or in this case, membership comment. And that comment comes from Arashi2358, who says, wrist rests for the win. Gotta keep the wrists supple for the pre-stream burst. I know that I never really mentioned the wrist rests when he was going through all of the recent upgrades that he's been making, but I think that those wrist rests are a perfect example of DSP's inability to save any money. He clearly didn't need them. You can live your entire life using a computer and never have a wrist rest, but DSP just had to have them because of course he did. And I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with having a wrist rest. Please be as comfortable as you want. But among all of the other shit that DSP was buying at the time, he couldn't make this one sacrifice and say to himself, hey, maybe I don't need a wrist rest. Maybe I can save the $10 to $20. Of course he couldn't, and that's why he's DSP. But that's going to be the end of this video. Hopefully you enjoyed it enough to come by for the next one. Until then, be safe. Goodbye.
I should be able to experiment and try new things. That's what a lot of content creators do.